Geomagic, Design X Go. 3D dreams with an easy flow. Automate, generate pictures align. Turn those scans into a CAD design.
In this video, I'm going to do a demonstration on how to process scans with Geomagic Design X Go. So in this instance here, I've imported, I just drag and dropped a file from a scanner here, and this is the same part, and there are 6 groups. It's a little excessive here, the amount of groups, but this is an idea of a real-life scenario where there is this part, and I have all these different setups where they flipped it over and scanned it from different directions. I'm just showing you how I would tackle this workflow. So the first thing I tend to do with a part like this is I'll go ahead and look at the part and just crop the data, right? So the thing that I can do here is I can just window in and select what I want to keep. And I can do that by turning off this eyeball right here. And if you want to hide the planes, by the way, for scan cleanup, it usually helps out here. But I can select what I want to keep and then hold Control and remove from the selection if I want to, like so. And then I can right click and I can say inverse and delete everything else. And you'll see that it'll delete all those small bits that are floating off in space. Now, one optional thing that you can do for this specific workflow is sometimes I will best fit the individual groups of scans. So this right here is a folder full of 16 scans, 16 different shots. So you could come over here if you wanted to. This is optional. And you could say, hey, I want to best fit all of these together to each other before I actually best fit them all 6 groups together, right? So this is one of those things where if you like every micron in the workflow counts and you have to really get extremely accurate, this may be able to help you achieve a slightly better result by best fitting all the individual groups first and then best fitting them together. And if you're like me where the different colors kind of bother me sometimes, I will come over here and select it and just make them the same. And then there are things that you can do through here where if you see certain scans, like I click on this and you see scan 11, I can find scan 11 right here. And I can say I want to show only that scan. If I want to remove areas that this is like a terrible scan, kind of on purpose I use this because this is not very accurate, but it is useful to show workflows that you might run into. So I'll say show selected only. And then this is the same thing. If I see areas like this, I can click on that boundary and I can see that scan number 3. I can say show only. And instead of using the rectangle tool, I could hold the Alt key with the paintbrush and just paint areas that look like they have lots of deviation in them and then hit delete. Just showing some different methods as we go through here. Different approaches that I take depending on the problems that I see. So I'm just painting with that paintbrush, hitting delete, removing areas. And the reason why I'm doing it now is it's better to do it early when these scans are separate than it is to do later. And I could go crazy and do those as well, but I'm just going to save you guys the time of me editing every single little thing here. And then this is how I would do it. I would cycle through and I would say, okay, we want to show selected only on this guy. Come over here, change the color if I want. And then do the same thing I did before where I can window in. This time, let's use a different tool just to show something different. Use the polygon tool. So I can select using a polygon tool. And when I'm in the polygon tool, I can't really rotate. If I do, then it's using the polygon from this specific perspective. And I right click and it will select it there. And then I can say inverse, delete, and go from there. So that was the second option there is we went ahead and used the polygon tool. And then I'll usually look at it from different perspectives. And you see here, holding shift will allow me to add that part to that part and then hit delete. You see there, deleted those pieces. And we just keep right on moving here. And I'm going to do show selected only. And from the top, instead we'll use the rectangle selector this time. And make sure select through is on, inverse. So you just see a whole host of different methods that I do. And then I'll just click on that group again, come over here, click on this, change them all to blue. I could just do it to all of them if I want to, by the way, but. And then for this one has got a lump of clay on the bottom. So in this instance, a lot of times I can go ahead and come up here and I'll just start with this point here. Inverse, delete. And then we'll go ahead and zoom in. Sometimes I'll go ahead and let's use the lasso this time. So lasso, I can use the straight edge of the lasso to my advantage, like so. And then delete those areas. And then you see here, this is mismatched. If I visually see it's mismatched like that, that's when I definitely come in and say, hey, let's just global fine, do the global fine, hit this, fit those together to each other first before I go ahead and fit them to all together. Now, this is just a best practice thing. You may be able to get away with not having the best fit these and putting all the groups together and everything just locks right in. I just do this because if you do enough projects, you run into some obscure things that happen, and this is just a way of doing it once and not having to worry about it again. So that's why I kind of approach it that way. So we'll say view selected only here, and then this one's even more fun here. So I'll start out with the rectangle selector like we did before, and then inverse. And then we can accidentally rename the group and come over here. Let's do the color. And with this one, you know, maybe we want to use the lasso this way. And I'm doing it just on one side, hitting delete. I'm purposely angled this way. And if I just rotate over here, rotate there, like so. And then I can shift add to selection and hit delete. And if I visually see anything like this, I might go ahead and remove it while I'm here. And if I click, you'll see scan number 8 of this group. I might just window in and say, hey, that whole wall is just jacked up. So let's just get rid of it. And there we go. We'll just touch this up a little. So this is the cropping phase of my scan editing, is just making sure everything is cropped how I want it and ready to assemble. So let me think here. Is there any other way? Basically, I think the lasso tool is the way I'll stick with here. Custom region doesn't work on multiple pieces like that, so let's do this. And you can be a little aggressive. If I have a lot of overlap between scans, you see that I don't have to be super precise because I have that data in other scans. So, you know, you can get a little aggressive. You see here, Okay, this is another example where I can come in and I can just use the flood fill like this and hit delete and click on shells, and there's a duplicate shell there. You can see here like that, and it'll flood delete those. And I could flood click the main shell and then inverse if it was one piece, but this one is still multiple shells there. So in this instance, that's the way I would do that. And if you're ever unsure and you might have bits floating out, you can just do this again and inverse. So now I'm going to right click on the whole meshes group. I'm going to say show selected only to turn them all back on. And now we'll go ahead and piece these together in the alignment stage. So I'll come over here to align between scan data. I'll turn it over to local based on picked point. And then we'll just select our reference group, number one. And I kind of make sure when I scan something that I scanned it in a logical order. So it's like 1 to 2, 2 to 3. It just makes it easy to align that way, right? So I have overlap between group 1 and 2. It just makes it simple to not have this giant 3D puzzle that is difficult to put back together. Um, just make it a logical way of dealing with it. But I can come over here, click there, click there. You see I'm just selecting at least three common points between, and I'll see the result over there. And if I want to add a fourth somewhere that might make sense, like here, and don't make sure that you don't mess it up more than you help. So here, that's what I did is I accidentally flipped my sides, and I can use these as a reference to see, okay, green, red right there. Let's put the purple one over here. And sometimes that can help lock it in a little more. Sometimes it can make it worse depending on how accurate your click point is. But you're just trying to get them semi-close. And then when you hit this checkbox here, it will take these scans and move them up here in this reference and then open up the bottom area for me to select the next group. So now that I'm ready for the next group, click on group 3. And it gets easier, and you don't have to be as precise as you go because you have more and more data every time you get rolling here, and you have more areas to select. So if I just pick some obvious places on the mesh, like that. Certain areas just work really well to lock it in if you click near areas of topology too, where there's lots of deviation, lots of areas there. So now I just select the next group, rinse and repeat. Like so. And you see this one's from this other direction, so like that. Hit OK. And then the next one. Hit OK. And then the last one. And that is it. So we'll go ahead and hit OK. Actually, I could have stayed right in there. So I could just run this, come over to Global Find, select all meshes, and just hit OK. And now this will best fit them all to each other. So now that they are locked in with each other, there are times where I'll look at and I'll be like, hey, there's some crazy noise in this. But it is what it is. Like, I'm just using this as an example. But so I might click on some of these and erase some of the spots and get rid of them shell by shell, right? By clicking shell, find this one, whatever. But this is good enough for what we're going to do. We're just going to go ahead and take these guys, come over to polygons, merge, and I like using volume. I move it all the way one notch from the top, volume one notch from the top, keep original data because I want to make sure that it merged well before I get rid of the rest of the data. Select everything. Just takes a second. And then we go ahead and hit OK, and it just takes a minute to merge. So now that it's done, you'll see that the other scans will all still be there. So I hide those, and you see it does a pretty good job merging them all together. We could have done HD, and if you want to compare I can turn these back on and show what the HD would look like. So if we go ahead and run merge, HD. Now what HD, the mods that I make is I take this all the way down one notch from the end there, remove original data, turn that off, leave that flat, that's fine. And then select all, but remove the merge shell from that. So hit delete there and hit run. This one goes really fast. And just like before, we gotta turn these off. And there, that one looks better. That looks good. All right, so now let's go ahead and do a little bit of post-processing work on this. So I always run Healing Wizard just to check it. Doesn't look like it found anything. Oh, we gotta tell it which mesh to use. So we'll go ahead and hit on merge shell number 2. Just fit that to screen. And yeah, did not find anything there. So let's do this one more time. Fit there. Let it run. So it looks like it did find some stuff there. So hit OK. So once that's finished, we can go ahead and just do some hole filling just to show what I do there. So some basic holes like this, you would just say I want to use tangent or curvature for that. You have to select, when you have multiple meshes in here, you have to select which mesh it is that you're going to do, which takes a step before. So what I tend to do actually while I'm at it here is I'll go ahead and fill those, but I'll also do this. I'll go ahead and rev my file. So I go ahead and say, I want to do a save as, I'll save it, do a save as, and then come over to O2 and get rid of all this other stuff because it's all just clogging up memory and swap disk and all that anyway. So we'll just go ahead and hit delete there. And after you delete those, go ahead and hit save. Now you'll find everything just moved a little faster, and the hole fill tool you don't have to select what hole you want, what mesh you want. It just auto selects it by doing that. So you can do things like this and hit OK. You see that, and it just automatically selects those. Now, for hole fill, I'll just cover a few different things here. I've already clicked on entire boundaries and filled those. That's one thing that you can do. Another thing is fill partial. You can click a point, and you can select which side that you want to fill. Like that, which is awesome. And you can also do what's called a bridge. So I can click and drag, and click and drag, and it will fill that way. And that sometimes can help break up a hole into multiple segments, that you can use different fill types. You know, the different curvature or flat. You know, they might, doing this, I might make a flat bridge and then I'll fill with curvature or whatever. And then another thing you can do is hit this lock. So once I hit the lock, it means the dialog will stay open when I go ahead and fill these holes here. And then when I hit the OK, you'll see that it'll fill those but stay in the dialog. So I don't have to get out in order to see the results here. I can click on these, hit OK, and go from there. So that's how, there's a little bit of how to do manual hole filling. So just to reiterate, if I wanted to do a fill partial here, click, click, select the side, click there, select the side, just like that. And it helps to kind of just look at the curvature and fill based on that. Like this is all a flat area, kind of flattish, so you see what I'm doing there. And then from there, yeah, I can do select boundaries. And you can window in boundaries as well. But you have to make sure that you don't accidentally select ones that are behind on the other side of the mesh. And I also set a shortcut for the OK button, so on my mouse I can hit OK without having to go all the way up there, which is a nice little feature if you have a different 3D mouse or something like that. So if the idea here is I click, 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 and then hit the button on my mouse that will hit OK automatically there. Now for an area like this, it's like you have a little bit of onion skinning and stuff. There's a few different things you can do. Basically what I would probably do is just come in here with the brush and I would add and remove. I would try to like delete all common curvature area, right? Keep it kind of flat. And then delete that, and you'll see there's a little floaty bit there. So the trick here again is to click on this, inverse, and do that. Then come over to hole fill, click on that, hit OK. And then I could delete these again and hole fill again, and you can kind of stack on top of each other to solve problems here. So I'll just click on this again here. To kind of smooth it out. There are other tools in the full DX that allow you to, like a smart brush and stuff, that allow you to smooth things out and remove those witness lines. But with a project like this, I don't actually go spend tons of time removing all the defects in the mesh. I just clean it a little bit, get it nice and tidy, and then go from there. So this is the tutorial on Scan Cleanup Design X Go. I hope this helps, and I can include the files here for you to practice with as well. Thank you for your time.
Geomagic, Design X Go. 3D dreams with an easy flow. Automate, generate, pictures align. Turn those scans into a CAD design.